As search and rescue operations come to an end, officials say over 280 people have been killed and more than 900 injured in one of India's worst train crashes.
Serb protesters gathered outside a town hall in northern Kosovo where an ethnically Albanian mayor was selected in April elections they'd boycotted.
While thwarting a drug smuggling attempt, 3 Israeli soldiers and 1 Egyptian officer were killed along their shared border after a deadly gunfight broke out.
A UN-sponsored summit in Paris has agreed to create a blueprint for a global plastic treaty by the end of 2024.
India's Odisha state is in mourning after a crash involving 3 trains killed at least 280 people in one of the country's worst rail disasters in decades. The deaths followed a collision between 2 passenger trains and a freight train some 220 kilometers southwest of Kolkata. Officials say all the bodies and hundreds of injured passengers have now been removed from the accident site. Prime Minister Narendra Modi flew to the crash scene and spent half an hour examining the relief efforts and talking to rescue officials. He then visited a number of the injured in hospital. India's railway minister has ordered a high-level inquiry into the collision to determine if it was caused by human error in signalling or track deterioration. Despite government efforts to improve rail safety, several hundred accidents occur every year on India's railways, the largest train network under one management in the world.
Northern Kosovo and ethnically Serbian protesters gathered in the town of Zvecan. It's in the Serb-majority Mitrovica region, and they're demanding the removal of ethnically Albanian mayors elected in April elections largely boycotted by the region's Serbs. They also want the withdrawal of Kosovo's special forces. The protest took place in the presence of KFOR soldiers, NATO-led peacekeepers who stepped up their presence in Zvecan following clashes on May the 29th that left 80 people injured. Kosovo's Prime Minister Albin Kurti accused Belgrade of orchestrating those clashes, saying they were planned, well-organised and had an author. He said the author is official Belgrade. Kosovo, a former region of Serbia, became independent in 2008 but has never been recognised by Belgrade.
3 Israeli soldiers and 1 Egyptian officer were killed along their shared border after a deadly gunfight broke out on Saturday. An Israeli military spokesperson said the fighting began overnight when soldiers thwarted a drug smuggling attempt across the border. A male and female soldier were found dead at an army post. The army said the Egyptian police officer was killed in a second exchange of fire in which a 3rd soldier was killed. Deadly violence is rare between the countries who signed a peace treaty in 1979 and maintain close security ties.
Iran released 2 Austrians and a Dane who'd been jailed by the government in Tehran. One of the released Austrians was arrested in 2016 for allegedly spying for the United States, the other in 2019 for what were described as national security offences. Austrian Chancellor Karl Nehammer expressed his happiness at the prisoners' release, thanking the Belgian Prime Minister as well as the Sultanate of Oman for their role in mediating the release. A UN-sponsored summit on plastic pollution has laid the blueprint for a global treaty to tackle the problem. The meeting in Paris set a deadline of the end of 2024 for the agreement in a unanimous vote passed by delegates from 175 countries. It was the second of 5 plastic pollution summits, with the next due in Kenya.
Même quand Paris sera terminé, il faut que les discussions et que la négociation internationale continuent entre maintenant et le rendez-vous au Kenya de façon non-stop pour que justement on maintienne cette pression dans la négociation qui nous permette de tenir cet objectif de 2024.
460 million tons of plastic is produced every year and only 9% is recycled. Delegates in Paris heard global plastic production could triple by 2060.